We are feeling the Miami vibes, but are we feeling the race vibes? Coming off of the hottest race of the year, this is the F1 by Americans podcast. I am Patrick Finley, along with Stephen Harris. Stephen,
Hello.
you are in Florida, not Miami, but how hot is it? Is it hot? Is it
Yes.
good in there? Are we there
Yeah.
yet?
Yeah. It's summertime, so we're starting to feel it. Being down
Little,
here, South Florida, especially.
little toasty.
Yes. Yeah.
Little toasty.
Make sure
Okay.
you gotta wear your sunscreen.
Yes, always good to wear your sunscreen. I was talking to a nurse that works in a dermatology office the other day. She said SPF 50.
Mm.
So make sure you're not putting that 15 on or a 30, but go 50
Right.
to protect that skin. Yeah, yeah. Are you good about,
Yeah.
just talking about sunscreen, are you good about putting it on, Steven?
I never used to be until I got
Yeah.
married.
Oh my
So
gosh, Steven.
yes.
Like, th- so this just began,
Yes.
like, within the past 6 months.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I was, well, except for the married part. I I was not good about it in my teen years. As I started getting older, I think I started realizing the importance of doing it more often. I
Hmm.
do put a SPF lotion on every day on my face, and for our listeners out there, this is why we have a podcast that is audio only, is because you know I'm bald. Just kidding. But
Yeah.
but I've gotten to the good habit of putting it on my head. So
There you go.
especially when I'm
Yeah.
fishing. So I do like to
Yeah.
fish. Anyway, that's off
Yes.
topic, but just yeah,
Yes.
you brought it up, so why not? Let's chat. Let's talk about it. So
Hey.
just make sure to wear your SPF kits. That's what we're trying to say.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
especially at the Formula One races because it does get toasty. I mean, Austin
It
last year
does.
or 2 years ago when I was there, man,
Yeah. Yeah.
October you were hoping for a little cooler weather, but it was warm,
Hmm.
warmer than warm. So
Yes. Yeah.
so for our listeners out there, we are on the social media channels. So thanks for all of our new followers and our new listeners. We've got Twitter at F1 by Americans, Facebook F1 by the Americans podcast, and the old Instagram F1 by Americans podcast. So give us a follow over there, and we appreciate you liking our content, and we'll continue to push out more content. Hopefully, you liked out what we pushed out last week on Instagram as we start to ramp that up over there. We'll do some stuff during the week as well,
Mhm.
just news and noteworthy items when it happens. And we'll give some little intros during the week. And then also, we are on YouTube. So if you want to get your podcast content on YouTube and stream it while you're at work or wherever you are, you can follow us over there as well, F1 by the Americans podcast. And you can like and subscribe and get those pushes when they are uploaded. So that takes care of that portion of the show. And we're not going to really beat around the bush on this podcast. We are going to get directly into all the happenings around the Miami Grand Prix. It was only a week ago that we were at Baku, racing the street
Mhm.
course in Baku, and we moved immediately to another street course that was designed around the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Stephen, what just kind of heading into the weekend, what were your expectations? Let's just kind of set that off. Just overall, like experience wise, and just what
Yeah.
were you expecting?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it was going to be, I felt like kind of similar to last year, just kind of how the race played out and everything. I kind of felt like, especially they had announced that they were going to reduce the DRS zone, so I kind of was afraid that we were going to start looking at a little bit more of a boring weekend. Also, just didn't know really what to expect with the new track service and everything, like how that was going to factor into the weekend. But yeah, so I think I was kind of expecting some of the same, but not really knowing what to expect. Kind of, even though it's year two, it did kind of feel like it was kind of a little bit of a new take on that track and how would that play out again. So it kind of felt brand new almost to a certain degree of like just not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Especially with the new track surface, they did make some changes to some profiles in the corners. So there were some differences heading into this race. I was really wondering about the crowd. Would the crowd be as large as it was last year? I think right around 400,000 last year. It might not have been 400,000. Might have been 300.
I think,
Was it 300?
it was like 270,000, I
Oh,
think.
I'm a little off. Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, I I was wondering if they could repeat that, and they did. So they increased overall attendance this year by about 30,000. I I will say when I watched Free Practice 1 on Friday, there were not many people at the track. So I started wondering, is Miami a little bit like LA? LA people arrive in the third inning to go to baseball games, right? Anytime I've
Hmm.
watched a LA Dodger game on baseball, or I mean on baseball, anytime I've watched a LA Dodger game, the crowd always arrives late. And so I was wondering, is Miami very, very similar to that? And it did appear like that was the case.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you think of the Miami Heat, like they show up when, LeBron is in town or whatever the case may be, but, they also
Otherwise,
leave early. They also show up late. So,
mm. So
it's
they're catching like
that's a great
a
point.
quarter, maybe
Right.
two quarters.
If it's a close game, two quarters. So,
Okay, they may stay. They may
but
they may stay until like 2 minutes to go and then leave. Missed the buzzer
right.
beater.
Yeah. That has happened in
Yeah,
playoffs, actually,
yeah.
or actually
I
finals,
I
I
can
think it
imagine.
was. Yeah.
I don't follow the Heat.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, that's a great point because of just that type of city. It can be kind of like Las Vegas coming up
Yeah.
too. It's like is how much of a draw is it necessarily going to be because of how much there actually is to do in the area? Where you look at some of these other tracks, Austin. Sure, there's stuff to do in Austin, but it's kind of outside of Austin too. So it
Yeah.
plays into it a little bit. And plus, prices I think are just a lot higher for Miami. We're looking at Vegas where there's thousands upon thousands of dollars just to get in type of thing. So um, yeah, it does kind of wonder if there's enough people willing to spend that amount of money to get in to see racing. So
Yeah, I was talking this morning to a friend of mine and he was talking about the Vegas and he had looked at some ticket prices for Vegas. And not only is the ticket price going to be high for Vegas, but hotel rooms because
mhm.
they're going to jack the rates up on every hotel anywhere. Um, it's yeah, it is getting so expensive to attend these
Mhm.
races. And then you look at the merch. So I also saw one of the Dustin Long, one of the NASCAR. I think he's like a NASCAR rider. He was at the F1 races this past weekend. He he was sending pictures of the merchandise. $90 for a hat.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
$90 for a hat that just has a little McLaren logo on the front. I mean, it's insane. And I wonder because when I went to Austin, that same hat was like 65.
Yeah. That's what I
So
was gonna say. Like,
I wonder if their pricing changes depending on the market they're in because you think about going to like a Brazil or something like that, like Sao Paulo. There's no way that
Mhm.
they can charge $90 for a hat and be able to sell the merch that they do in the United States. They're going to have to lower that. And so I wonder if it's dynamic pricing depending on where they are.
Yeah, definitely
I
could
don't know.
be. And I think even, we were gonna dive into this, but even I think
Yeah.
I wonder about locations on the track specifically. Because when it comes to food, like, I mean, I'd seen where they're charging like $250 for a salad for four people, and it's like, that's probably a VIP section area. That's probably, that area, but just insane amount of price for a salad was like
Yeah,
just
let me
crazy.
let me read off some of
Yeah.
these items on this menu. Uh, by the way, it is chilled. It is a chilled salad that serves four people. Okay. It is a watermelon and tamalio salad, $250. Maine lobster rolls, $450. Yellowfin tuna poke, $350. U5 chilled prawn, $500. Is it only one prawn? Because I hope it would be like four. Fruit refresher, pink pineapple, watermelon, stone fruit. What is that? Rambutan, kiwi, and coconut. $295. And then you could also add some caviar on top of that item, and that's $400 per ounce. Okay, that's per ounce. So obviously there were
Yeah.
some. Oh man, the sweets. Look at those sweets. Look at that. A bundt cake, $200. Ice
Hmm.
cream, ice cream. I got some Mayfield in my fridge right now. I could buy a lot of Mayfield for $245. Is that
Yeah,
serving four people?
I think so. Well,
So
it doesn't necessarily say that. I don't
it
know.
doesn't say it there. Yeah, like the all the other items say serves four people, but I'm gonna go and get some ice cream for $245. They don't even tell me
Pretty
how many people
crazy.
it serves.
Yeah.
It better serve the whole paddock.
Right.
So so obviously there was those kind of conversations that were also coming out of the weekend about just the expensiveness of it to go. So this morning on my bike ride, I was talking to a friend of mine that attended the race, and he he told me just kind of gave me a highlight of his weekend, and he said he felt like things were decently priced. Especially, he said there was a steel water bottle that they would sell you, and or aluminum water bottle, and you could refill that water bottle all around the track like you would see at an airport. The refills, I can't say it tonight. The free refills at the airport, you can refill that water bottle anywhere.
Hmm.
And I didn't get the price on it, but it didn't sound like it was outrageous. And plus, you could like bring it back and forth into the track. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think I think that's an awesome idea. One, because it promotes hydration, which is
Mm-hmm.
important. I drink,
Yes.
a gallon a day. Um, and then he said it was decently priced beers. He said from what he was remembering, it was like $7 to $10 for a beer, which is not bad. I mean, granted, yeah, can you go get a six pack for $10? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Craft beer
Yeah.
and not a Heineken probably. It's probably a Heineken,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
$7.
Yeah.
or
right. And I feel like
non-alcoholic
that's on
Heineken.
right, right. I feel like
Zero
that's on
point
par
zero.
for most sporting events here in America, like $7 to $10. That's
Yeah, I would think so. I felt like it was a little more when I was in Austin. I was thinking like 12 to 15 a beer.
mm,
I'm thinking I can't remember exactly, but I, that's what I felt like. So,
hmm
um, yeah, it just we were also talking about this because here in Birmingham we do have an Indy race that held out at the Augusta of racetracks at Barber Motorsports Park.
hmm
It's a great facility there, and it is a. I mean, you can probably get tickets for $40, right? Come in, you can tailgate beforehand. Set up set up your lawn chairs wherever you want them, and all this other stuff. But I feel like F1 has done a great job of providing an experience for the overall weekend, right? Like
hmm
coming in, everything around it, the support races. They said there weren't support races, but actually I did see that IMSA Porsche Cup was racing there this weekend as well. So there was support races. I don't know why I guess they don't acknowledge anything outside of F2 or women, the W Series or whatever it's
hmm
called now.
yeah, yeah,
But I I feel like they've done a good job of creating an experience, and I feel like they kind of have to because the racing has not been, I feel like, what it should be. Um, but but
yeah.
but they've always. It seems like the last couple of years they've been known for that experience and growing that experience. Wouldn't you say, Stephen?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely would say so too. Really trying to, like you said, make it a whole weekend. We even see that with what they're trying to do with sprints
Yeah.
and stuff like that, where they're trying to make
Yep.
Saturdays important and
Yep.
then even Fridays with some qualifying. So yeah, I definitely would agree on that.
And they
And
always
then
try to
also
do
even like
some. Well, they try to do some concerts and stuff like that around the weekend. They have
yeah.
big names. I know at Austin they have some concerts even on Saturday night, and then Sunday after the race
hmm
there's another. So they it seems like they're doing a lot to keep the fans engaged.
Yes, yeah, and even attracting, with those concerts, you're kind of attracting other people in
Yeah.
who maybe just want to be there because, Britney Spears is performing that night, or I think she was there a few years ago, or whatever the case may be. So
Right. Right.
bringing in other fans with that. So,
You're getting those
also,
fans that are kind of on the fringe to finally jump in.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Something that I did see, and I think we talked a little bit about it before, and you said that you saw it, but some controversy where maybe they're trying to create too much of a fan experience to where they had the drivers' intros. I've seen some controversy about it. I actually didn't see it because I turned the race on at the time that it started, so I didn't really see any of the intro stuff. But there was some controversy, I guess, around how they introduced the drivers. I guess it was a lot more in depth for the drivers. So I think Lando Norris came out and said something along the lines of no driver liked it and thought it was a bad idea, type of thing. What was your take on that, Patrick?
Yeah, so to kind of set this up in case you didn't see it, they had a band out, like an orchestra, and they were playing music. It was Will I Am directing. LL Cool J was the MC, and so they were introducing each and every driver as they came out onto the grid, and he, they wouldn't. LL wouldn't talk to every single one of them. He did talk to Logan Sargent, hometown hero, and just Logan was like, yeah, I'm great, all this other stuff, and then he talked to no, he didn't talk to Lewis, but Lewis gave him like a bro hug type thing, and then he talked to Max, but this. And I've read that they're trying to do this because, like, it's the American thing to do, right? Like, the Americans do this at their races. And granted, NASCAR does it, right? It's been ingrained in the NASCAR
hmm
culture for a long time where they introduce, they'll do some introductions at some of their races and bring them out, or I think they're doing it at all tracks now. But this is not common for F1. And these drivers are very, very finicky, right? Like take it back to a baseball analogy. You don't talk to the pitcher when he's warming up. At any All-Star game, right? They introduce the pitcher. Where is he? They've introduced the whole team. Where's the pitcher?
Yeah.
He's warming up.
It's true. Yeah.
He's not. And so these drivers are very, very finicky. And so some of them, hey, some of them may like it and feel. I think Lewis was like, hey, if we're going to do it, we need to do it at all tracks, right? Because they
Yeah.
have their rhythms and they have their things set, their routine set before a race. And I can only imagine that would throw you off a little bit. Like now you got to get in the headspace of this, and they had the band that they had to get off the track, and so it's just, and I know all that's timed out. They know how to do it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think drivers should, and I think what I heard is some of the drivers were saying, "Hey, just consult with us about these things before just making these decisions for us," which I would agree.
Yeah. 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 I mean, definitely lack of communication will cause some frustration for sure. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, Stephen, let's just jump into the race weekend. I
hmm
know we had hoped to have Rob that was there on and talk a few of the differences and so forth from this year to last year. It seemed, again, we kind of hit on it at the beginning of the show, a lot more fans this year at the track, and that's a good thing, obviously, for the
hmm
sport. So, but getting into the race weekend, what did you think just for the race overall, or anything that you noticed that was from an on-track perspective interesting or catch your eye?
Yeah. I thought after, kind of after free practices and qualifying, I kind of felt like, man, we might be in store for a pretty good race. And, um, I kind of made, I think in our text, I kind of said, yeah, it might be one of the best races of the year. And
Right,
it's like, not really that's a high bar to set. Like, we
right.
really haven't had a race this season that I would say has been great.
No,
So
I agree.
I was hopeful going into the race that we'd have a good race to watch and everything. And, um, I feel like we got a pretty good race. I don't know to what level we would say it is, but I would maybe be of the persuasion to say it was the race of the year so far. It's a low bar to set,
Yeah.
but at this point, I would say it's probably been the best race so far this year. Emphasis on the so far part, especially. But yeah, I don't know. What was your take on it, Patrick, and how it
Yeah, over
went?
yeah, over yeah, overall, I was in the same boat with you. I really thought that, or really hoped that it would be a good race, right?
Mm-hmm,
We've not really had a race that we could get behind this year and go, man, that was fantastic to watch. I can't believe that this happened on this,
mm-hmm,
and because we had those moments last year, and and my buddy Scott that was
mm-hmm.
over, he came over to watch the race, and we were sitting there talking, and towards the end, man, like we were just like maybe a maybe somebody hits the wall and a you know safety car comes out, something,
Right.
because towards the end it was just there was nothing going on. There was some passing in the back, right,
Mm-hmm.
for some positioning that was eh. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Mercedes had a little bit better day than they anticipated, especially after Baku.
Mm-hmm,
But I I remember looking at him when Max was coming back up through the field, or when Max came through the field and was coming back at Checo, and I was like, man, this may be a DRS, them swapping back and forth, because he passed him on that long straightaway, and then Checo was behind him going into that front straightaway stretch, and I was like, oh man,
mm-hmm.
this may be good,
Yeah.
and it didn't turn out that way. It just it it just fell flat on its face and he pieced out. And
Hmm.
I think I think one thing that that shows you is how good Max is in a car that is comparable to what he's driving. I know that they were on different
Yeah.
tires, but I thought it was amazing to watch because he
Hmm.
came from ninth, and within 16 laps, he was within 4 seconds of Checo. That's
Yeah.
amazing to me.
It really is. Yeah. And it's not like, he got pulled up because of,
Yeah,
safety car or anything like that.
right.
Like, that was pure just speed on the track,
Yeah,
racing through people. So, yeah,
yeah,
that was definitely very impressive. Um, an
yeah.
interesting stat that I came across from this was, this race had the highest number of overtakes throughout for the season for a single race. Bahrain had 37, Saudi Arabia had 36, Australia had 29, Azerbaijan had 23 during the race, and then it had 20 in the sprint. And Miami had 60, which is almost double what Bahrain and Saudi Arabia had at 36, 37. So definitely a lot of overtaking, but I also kind of felt like there was a lot of tire saving by a lot of, or basically the whole grid. So I felt like there were times where we saw a great overtake, but then there were other times where there was no challenge put up. It was kind of like just get around me so I can kind of continue to conserve my tires and get this race to the end. I don't know
You
if you
kind
picked up on that too,
yeah,
but
you
um,
kind of saw that between Lewis and George.
yes, yeah,
Yeah, and nine of those overtakes were, or eight of those overtakes were Max.
right, yeah,
I mean, so that kind of skews that a little bit, but
hmm,
it overall like it yeah man I agree there was more on track passing. I think that was a culmination of what happened to Leclerc
hmm,
in Q3 and him shunting and and mixing up the field a little bit
yeah,
because I think if that had not happened, we would not have seen the amount of overtakes that we saw in this race. Because I think we might have seen some from I think Lewis was definitely out of place, starting like
hmm,
13th, right?
right,
I definitely thought he
hmm,
was out of place. I thought his car had better speed than that, and they just got caught out by whatever, right? I think he made a
hmm,
mistake there on his hot lap. They called him
hmm,
out, and of course he wanted to blame his team for putting out there late, but he also messed up.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
but um, yeah. So I don't know, man. I it was a good race. I wouldn't say it was a great race, and from a 1 to 10 rating, I'm gonna go a 5. What?
Yeah, I,
Yeah. What would you give it?
I would say, yeah, I'd say about the same, 5, 6, something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially after last, I mean, we just had such a great on track experience last year with so many just back and forth battles and stuff that we're just not seeing this year. So,
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of get engaged the way that we could last year, or even
Hmm.
2 years prior to that, you had Max and Hamilton going back and forth for the championship lead
Yeah.
throughout the whole season. So you had that drama constantly going 2 years ago. Last year, you had Max and Charles going back and forth earlier on in the season. You just had great on track action, and it just seems like that's taken a step back with the. I think the teams are just figuring out how to um, limit that with through design and how to
Yeah.
outwash the air as opposed to allowing cars to follow as easily as they did last year. So um, yeah, it kind of feels like we're kind of in this like area of like I don't know what we maybe just need a rainy race to kind of have a spectacular show or something to that
Yeah.
effect at this point. So I don't know. Yeah, I agree. It's like I said, it's the best race of the season, but at the best, I could give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
So, kind of
yeah,
kind of make of that what you will. So,
yeah. No, I agree, man. There's just not a lot of meat on the bone this year in
hmm
regards to talking about a good race, and I don't know. So Imola's next,
hmm
and I would I would like to say I would expect a good race in Imola, but it's been a while since. Well, I'll take that back. A couple years ago, there was a decent race in Imola where
hmm
Lando I think finished third, and Lewis came back from a lap down because of a red flag to finish second. Like
oh
I
yeah,
still don't understand that, but like a red flag comes out and everybody gets unlapped. Like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean no wonder that Flavio Briatore asked Bruno Senna, to spin his Renault in Singapore in 2008 so that Fernando Alonso could come from the back to win that race and screw Felipe Massa out of a championship.
Oh, poor Felipe Massa.
Yeah, he
he's gonna make some money and just go away. But
somebody's going to pay him off, but yeah, I I don't know if it's I don't know if Liberty will pay him off because they're like, this is before us, so they may
yeah,
have to call Bernie and say, Bernie, pay him off. But
yeah,
but yeah, so maybe Imola produces a good race. Um, I mean, we Monaco always had, so Imola is next week. Monaco, or I'm sorry, Imola is the 21st. Monaco is the 28th. The greatest day in racing, and I mean, it is. You got
it
Monaco, and then you
is.
got the Indy 500, and then you've got the Coke 600, which is
hmm
NASCAR at night.
Yeah,
Next
yeah,
year, Kyle Larson is doing the double duty. He
yeah.
got his seat fitting. I can't talk tonight. He got his seat fitting the other day with
hmm
McLaren, so he
Yes.
is getting ready for that. So, um, yeah, that'll be exciting next year. But the next two races are not what I would say ideal for producing great races.
Yeah.
Monaco has the potential to produce drama. Let me say that. So it's
Yes.
drama
Yeah.
and racing. That's two different things.
Yeah.
And I think Monaco does have that ability,
Yeah, for sure. The
which makes it
prestige
fun
of
to
it, and
watch.
then
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Everybody
So
wants to win that one, especially. So there's a little
exactly,
extra on the line with that. Kind of like the Indy
exactly.
500, just
Kind of like the Indy
means a little bit
500.
more.
It does,
So
it does. But Indy, there's usually some decent racing at Indy. I mean,
true. Yeah. Oh
last year, Pato going in against Ericsson.
man.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think?
They've had some good all timers lately. Actually,
Yeah. Do you
of
think
just
that Pato would lift this year?
that he would what?
Lift. He lifted.
Oh,
So
that's right.
going into turn
Yes,
one, he
I forgot
lifted.
about that.
Do you
Yeah.
think he would lift this
No.
year? Yeah, I don't either.
No.
I
Yeah.
don't either.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Well, Stephen, I think that's going to wrap us up for this show.
Yeah.
And we're excited for the rest of the season. We obviously, like we said, Imola's next week, and then Monaco. Monaco is one I always look forward to, no matter what. I know it doesn't produce great races. It's a lot of time. It's a parade, but it is just that day in motorsport where it's just a special day to see the pageantry of everything from IndyCar to NASCAR to Formula One, where they don't step over each other. And it's like Here's your
Hmm.
spotlight. Here's your spotlight, and here's your spotlight. So it's cool. It's cool to see that. And
Yeah.
so that's in 3 weeks, which is, yeah, it's crazy to believe it's coming that fast. But
Right. Yeah. It is.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
excited for it too.
yeah, cool. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. And as always, follow us on our socials, F1 by Americans, and add podcasts to the end of that for some of them. But you'll find us over there producing content to keep you abreast of what's going on in the F1 world and sometimes outside the F1 world, but mostly to the F1 world. And like we like to end it every week, you got 2 weeks to keep your wheels pointed in the right direction. We'll talk to you then. Have a great week, everyone.